Welcome to this instructional video about utilizing adventure education to teach social skills to school-age students with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. My name is Hannah Zimmerman, and I am in the Adaptive Physical Education Teaching Graduate Program at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. The major goal of this video is to assist general and adaptive physical educators, adventure education professionals, and special education teachers with topics such as adventure education, teaching social skills through adventure education, infusing adventure education into a physical education curriculum, and adapting adventure education for individuals with ASD at different levels. Specifically, my main focus is to show how to use adventure education to teach social skills to school-age students with ASD. Let's get started. Since this video is designed to help educators teach students with ASD, it is important to describe autism and some learning and behavioral characteristics of students with ASD. According to the DSM-5 from the American Psychiatric Association, autism spectrum disorder is characterized as a persistent deficit in social communication and social interactions across multiple contexts, currently or by history, as manifested by deficits in social-emotional reciprocity, deficits in nonverbal communication, deficits in developing and maintaining and understanding relationships. There are 3 severity levels of ASD. Level 1 requires the least amount of support, but does present deficits in social communication that cause noticeable impairments and inflexible behavior that causes significant interference with functioning. Individuals in Level 1 can speak in full sentences, but their attempts to communicate with others are odd and typically unsuccessful. Level 2 requires substantial support and is marked by deficits in verbal and nonverbal social communication. These deficits cause noticeable impairments and inflexibility of behavior and difficulty coping with change even with support. Individuals that are at Level 2 speak in 3 to 4 word sentences and are limited to narrow specific interests. Level 3 requires very substantial support and is marked by severe deficits in verbal and nonverbal communication, minimal reciprocal reactions with others, inflexibility of behaviors, and great distress when changing focus or actions. Individuals at Level 3 have few words of intelligible speech and only respond to very direct social approaches. Additionally, along with social skills deficits, individuals with ASD tend to have delayed motor skills. According to Green and colleagues, 79% of children with ASD show movement impairments. This deficit impacts their participation in and outside of physical education class. Bandini and colleagues reported that parents of children with ASD have reported lower rates of participation in few types of physical activities than their typically developing peers. Students with autism tend to have a difficult time in physical education class. Goodwin reported that situations and environments such as physical education that demand social understanding or that lack structure can be very challenging for individuals with ASD. And, as a result, these situations can lead to isolation, outbursts, depression, and higher stress levels. Modifications and teaching considerations for students with ASD at all levels will be presented in this video, as adventure education is explained. Let's take a look at the adventure education process. According to Bison, adventure education involves a structured sequence of physical activity opportunities for reflection which aim to promote social and personal development. Adventure education is focused on the process of learning rather than the product. The learning process is focused around the achievement of group goals as compared to individual success. Adventure education refers to the actual teaching of adventure activities including cooperative games, trust-building exercises, problem-solving initiatives, and low and high elements. According to Sutherland and Stroop, adventure education has been shown to be an effective social skills intervention for children with ASD, including inter- and intrapersonal skills. This includes initiating, maintaining appropriate conversations, and developing friendships. For the purpose of this instructional video, we will focus on adventure education within a school-based physical education curriculum, not recreational summer camps and community YMCAs. However, some strategies may be similar. Adventure education can be incorporated as a unit in your physical education curriculum, and adventure activities are found in the Shape America grade level outcomes for physical education, including Standard 4, exhibiting personal and social responsibility, Standard 2, applying knowledge of strategies, and Standard 1, competency in a variety of movement patterns. The gentleman I am going to introduce to you next is Steve Eggerich. He is an adaptive physical education teacher in the school district of Holmen in Holmen, Wisconsin. He has been teaching adventure education to his students at the middle and high school level for over 10 years. He will share with you how he teaches adventure education to his students and how he has seen his students with ASD develop social skills as a result of adventure education. How do you use adventure education in your physical education curriculum?
The class that they can take is our Universal Adventure and Outdoor Pursuits class, which is half students with disabilities, half students without disabilities, and it's all a non-competitive atmosphere based on group success, and all we do is adventure and outdoor pursuits. So in the third term we would do winter shelter building, ice fishing, snowshoeing, caving, and then in the spring we would do indoor rock climbing, outdoor rock climbing, and camping with a trip to Devil's Lake State Park, and then we do the adventure sequence and culminate on the ropes course.
How do you modify activities for your students with ASD?
A lot of our students with autism, it's more of that social interaction, pairing them with peers that can teach them about how to appropriately act and that don't mind calling them out when they need to change their behavior. So it's kind of a lot of peer teaching, peer mentoring. This is the appropriate response, this is appropriate action, and just planning activities that everybody in the group can do.
How have you seen adventure education benefit students with ASD, specifically their social skills?
Really improved their relationships with other students. You know, some of our students are some of them can be very introverted, or they really just want to keep to themselves. And having a few people that they can form really close relationships with and kind of open up to, it's really improved their ability to have some quality friendships, some quality peer interaction. It's been as much as like, we have some students who are nonverbal but will text back and forth. So they text back and forth, not just during the class, but on weekends, over the summer. I think it's helped them work on, I have to communicate with my group to get through our activity. So just having that peer communication in small groups has really helped them to feel more comfortable with themselves and more comfortable around other people.
According to Bison, adventure education should be taught through the 7 stages of adventure. These stages include acquaintance activities, de-inhibitizers, communication, problem solving, trust, low and high elements. I will now present the 7 stages of adventure education along with specific strategies for implementing these stages for students with ASD. The first stage is acquaintance activities. Acquaintance activities involve name games or get-to-know-you games. The purpose of this stage is to become well acquainted with peers and classmates. This is where students learn each other's names and become familiar with each other. As a facilitator or teacher, this is an opportunity to teach students the proper social skills you want them to display, such as eye contact, appropriate greetings, and using others' names. These are all skills that students with ASD tend to lack and require direct instruction to accomplish. Playing games to practice these skills is an opportunity for students to learn and apply social skills in multiple settings. A game that is played during this first stage is group juggle. For the game, divide the students into groups of 8 to 10 and have each group form a circle. Have students select one object and pass it around the circle, saying their name and a descriptor, such as a fruit or vegetable, animal, or adjective, that starts with the same letter of their first name. For example, Allison the ape. Then everyone else in the circle would reply, "Hi, Allison the ape." For students with ASD, this helps them practice appropriate initiating and responding to an interaction. If your student with ASD is resistant to participate, try using a sensory object that they enjoy, such as a squishy ball or an animal beanbag. The second stage of adventure education is the icebreaker or de-inhibitizer phase. The purpose is for participants to loosen up, smile, and feel comfortable within the group situation. The main job of the facilitator is to help participants increase their familiarity with the other members of the group and feel comfortable within the group setting. Group development is a central component of adventure education because students are able to focus on social growth. Students with ASD often do not initiate interactions with others, so this is an opportunity to get them to interact with other members of the group themselves. An effective way to show students some similarities that exist between them is through this game, The Race is On. Create a large circle using polyspots, one for each student or for each pair of students. Students begin by standing on the polyspot with the leader in the middle. The role of the leader is to state something personal, such as their likes, dislikes, what they're wearing, number of siblings, etc. For example, my name is Hannah and the race is on if you like ice cream. All students who like ice cream have to move to a new polyspot. Students cannot return to the same polyspot or move to one that is directly next to them. The leader also tries to find a polyspot. The result is that a new leader. Through playing the game, all students, including those with ASD, learn more about each other, making it easier to find commonalities. The game may be challenging for students with ASD, and they may benefit from being prepared ahead of time through a social story so that they know what to expect and what will be expected of them. The social story could include the race is on statements so that the student is prepared with something to say when it's their turn in the middle. Setting students with ASD up for success will be beneficial to their development of social skills and interactions within the group. The third stage of adventure education is communication. The goal of this stage is for participants to understand that communication is complicated and can occur in a variety of mediums, including verbal, nonverbal, written word, listening, or pictures. In this stage, participants learn to take turns verbalizing their ideas and listening to others' ideas. The communication stage is important for directly teaching and practicing social skills for students with ASD. They are able to practice their social skills they have been learning to work towards the achievement of a common group goal. This stage is a process that may require students and their group to complete the activity multiple times. Minefield is a game that helps students practice directive communication. For the game, students will work with a partner. Mark a playing area with 4 cones. Inside the playing area, place a variety of objects. Make it unlikely that anyone could walk across the area without stepping on one of those objects. Blindfold one partner. The object of the game is to verbally guide the blindfolded partner safely across the minefield. Anyone coming in contact with a mine must return to the beginning and start again. This game could prove to be difficult for students with autism, but with some prompting and practice, students will learn to use their words to express what they want someone to do. Prepare the students ahead of time by reminding them of directive words they will need to use during the activity, such as left, right, forward, backward. Additionally, to help students with ASD be an active partner, you could assign a third student to the group to act as a backup driver. The backup driver does not drive for the student with ASD, but prompts the student to give directions to their blindfolded partner. This peer mentoring model can be very beneficial throughout the adventure education process if the peer mentors are trained properly. The fourth stage of adventure education is a problem-solving stage. In this stage, participants are purposefully put into situations where they need to work together as a group to solve a problem within the parameters of the activity. Participants need to use the skills they've learned in the previous stages, including using each other's names and communicating effectively to be successful. The main focus of the problem-solving stage is the process, not the product. In this stage, participants learn through concrete experiences and trial and error. Activities presented in this stage tend to be physical problems that require cooperation, planning, and group consensus or agreement. Students with ASD may need a little extra support in this stage to help them use their communication skills effectively. But the social skills learned in the previous stages will help them to be successful interacting with their group members. The game All Knotted Up requires about 15 to 20 feet of rope for a group of 8 students, with overhand knots tied every 2 to 3 feet, or 1 knot per student. Students in the group pick up the rope so their hand is directly behind one of the knots. The object of this activity is for the group to get the knots out of the rope without anyone letting go of it. No one may let go of the rope, they may not slide their hand over a knot, and they must all maintain contact with the rope until all the knots are out. The activities leading up to this stage will help students with ASD feel comfortable in the group and comfortable using their words to voice their thoughts. This stage will help students expand their social skills to contribute to a common group goal. It is important for students with ASD to fully understand what the goal of the group is, especially if it is an abstract concept. In this case, video modeling can be used to show the students what you want them to do and what the outcome should look like. Prior to the students participating in the activity, take a video of another group doing the same thing. Show the student different aspects of the process, including untangling in small parts, talking together as a group to problem solve, and what the rope will look like when a group is finished. Video modeling will help students with ASD understand their role and be an effective member of the group. In the trust stage, participants will learn the spotting contract so that they have the cognitive knowledge to be able to participate in the activities. This includes teaching and demonstrating the proper technique and aspects of spotting. More complicated trust exercises can follow basic trust exercises to build students' trust in their group members. This will take time, and groups should not move past this stage until completely proficient. Prepare students with ASD prior to starting the stage in order to increase their likelihood of success. Trust falls are a common feature of adventure units. However, prior to any actual falling, it is critical that students develop competency in spotting. To begin, demonstrate a proper spotting technique. Proper spotting includes hands in a ready position, fingers closed, legs staggered with knees slightly flexed, hands at shoulder height. Then, discuss important aspects of spotting. Protect head, neck, and spine. Work at a comfort level appropriate to both the faller and the catcher, and stay focused. Have students practice a spotting position with you or another highly experienced spotter. Introduce the first call. Spotter ready? Have students practice getting into spotting position when they hear spotter. Talk about the role of the faller. Communicate with the spotter. Keep body straight and tight. Work at a comfort level of both the catcher and the faller, and stay focused. Some students with ASD may have reservations about falling back or being caught by a partner. This is another opportunity where video modeling could be beneficial. Show the student a video of a peer doing a trust fall, and then videotape the student performing the trust fall so that they are able to watch themselves. Have students practice with a partner or a small group. Participating in trust exercises can help students, especially those with ASD, to develop deeper and more meaningful relationships with their peers. If students are still resistant to falling backwards, make modifications to make them more comfortable, such as adding additional spotters, having students stand on top of a mat, or having students start by kneeling or standing close to each other so that the fall is less significant. The sixth stage of adventure education is low elements and includes activities that are 0 to 3 feet off the ground and require spotting from other group members. During the low element stage, participants need to rely on each other for physical and emotional support throughout the activity. Low elements are designed to get students comfortable with the idea of leaving the ground. To get students off the ground, have them participate in the log lineup. For this activity, you will need a long wood log or beam positioned directly on or close to the ground. Have the students stand on the log before giving directions. Tell them that from now on until the activity is finished, there should be no more talking. Then instruct the students to line up in a designated order such as height, last name, or birthday. The students will need to work together to cross and maneuver around other classmates in order to switch positions. If students step off the log, you can choose if they hop back up to where they were or start over in their original order. In this clip, I modified the activity and let the students use the cross supports as a stepping stone. For students with ASD, Stage 6 provides an opportunity to practice their nonverbal communication skills in a situation that has higher risk and reward. When low elements are properly planned and sequenced, they develop cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills necessary for a successful transition to high elements. Through Stage 1 through 6, students as a group need to grow in their ability to work together, problem solve, communicate, and show trust in their peers to be able to participate in Stage 7. The seventh stage is the high element stage. High elements are 30 to 50 feet in the air and tend to be individual based. High elements are typically performed on a high ropes course and include activities such as catwalk, two-line bridge, multivine, centipede, pamper pole, and flying squirrel. The role of the seventh stage is to challenge participants out of their comfort zone into a stage of disequilibrium. The seventh stage is mainly individual challenge based, but they do require a degree of psychological support from the group. Just like anyone else, students with ASD may have different reactions to participating in high elements. If students are very anxious about the activity, make accommodations to meet the students where they're at. This could look like having the student climb and touch the top of the pamper pole instead of climbing on top of the pamper pole and jumping off. If physical ability or safety is a concern, there is adapted adventure equipment such as a 3-to-1 pulley system that assists a climber by taking some of the weight off of them as they are climbing, or a booty bag that straps a student in upright for the flying squirrel. All stages prior to 6 and 7 work up to these last two stages. They prepare the participant to get to know each other, have fun together, communicate, problem solve, and trust each other. When these stages are done correctly, participants are more open to push themselves on the low and high elements. For students with ASD, this can be an opportunity for them to feel part of the group and supported by their peers. As they are challenging themselves on the high elements, their peers on the ground support them by belaying them or cheering them on. Physical and emotional support can lead to a strong sense of trust and friendship between group members. A teacher may need to spend a day or two on each of the stages. Communicating with students with ASD prior to each stage will help prepare them to be successful interacting with their peers in each stage. After every stage, it is important to debrief with your students in order for them to get the most out of the experience. Processing the experience can give activities greater meaning rather than using adventure activities purely for recreation. It is important to get students to think about how they came to the solution to a problem, what things they did as a group that helped them solve the problem, what things that they could have done differently, and how they could apply this situation into their own lives. This will help students with ASD generalize what they learned into their everyday lives and understand the thoughts and feelings of those around them. Students with ASD can learn from their peers, talk about their experiences in a situation. If they felt uncomfortable during a high element and they hear a peer say that they were also scared during that same element, it will help them understand more similarities between themselves and their peers. To help students with ASD best reflect and debrief from an activity, give them plenty of time to think about the question that you have asked. Additionally, utilize assistive communication apps or PECs to get students to start expressing their feelings or other perceived feelings. From your experience, why is debriefing so important to an adventure education process?
After the activities, to make them think about how this activity relates to them outside of school. If we don't do those debriefings, we're just playing games. You know, if we can't relate it to outside of school, we can't relate it to outside life, we can't relate it to family interactions or peer interactions, again, we're just playing games to play games. So that's really where it makes it meaningful.
What are some tips that you have for facilitating meaningful reflection for students with ASD?
Looking at that debriefing process, we need to give lots of different options, especially when we're dealing with students with autism. So maybe during that debrief, you have a small group where they all kind of meet together and then that group presents their ideas. It might be as much as you're going to write down on a card what you're going to do. You know, what are your thoughts? And then we all read about those. We can read those cards or those thoughts. Sometimes we'll do like exit slips on the debrief process and they can type in their Chromebook or they can text a response. Just giving multiple different options for them to express themselves.
As you can see, adventure education can be a useful tool for teaching social skills to students with ASD. In this video, we reviewed the 7 stages of adventure and the key aspects of social skills incorporated into each stage. Also highlighted were ways to design an adventure education unit with modifications to games and activities so that students with ASD at all levels can be successful. This could include game selection or specific teaching strategies such as peer mentoring. The purpose of this instructional video was to help you design and implement an adventure education unit within your physical education curriculum that meets the unique needs of students with ASD. Thank you for watching.